Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Mystery, mystery. Life is a riddle and a mystery. Mystery, mystery. Life is a riddle and a mystery. Where do we come from? Where are we going? Where do we come from? Where are we going? Where do we come from? Where are we going? Where do we come from? Where are we going?
Welcome to the Sunday morning service of the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of San Miguel de Allende. We are located physically on the land of the Chichimeca, Otomi, and Nahua peoples, and today via Zoom, we are building community across Mexico and internationally. I'm Chris Chase, one of your fellowship's board vice presidents, and I serve as chair of membership and visitor outreach in our children's program. Welcome to each of you joining us today, wherever you are, whatever your beliefs, and whoever you love. You are welcome here with us. We invite you to look in today's order of service for announcements of activities and membership information. If you aren't already receiving our Sunday morning email of the order of service, sign up to get it. Alternatively, you can go to our website at uufsma.org to find it there. Within it, look for an icon, a chalice, to click to get today's order of service. An icon, white camera in a blue circle, to click into our Zoom services. And other well-known icons to donate to our fellowship and connect to our YouTube channel for recordings of today's and previous Sunday services. And please tell your family and friends about our website and Facebook page, another icon on our website. Our breakout discussions after the service are great places to reflect on today's message with longtime and new friends. Just stay connected after the postlude music ends, and you'll be randomly assigned to a room. If only one or two people show up in your room, sit tight for a minute, and you'll be moved to a larger room. Near the end of the service, we'll post a question to kick off the discussion. If you're a new visitor, we invite you to delay accepting your breakout room assignment so our minister and membership team can chat with you for a few minutes in our main room. And before we hear from Stephanie on behalf of our COVID-19 task force, I would like to steer you to the top of our order of service, where you will find a most interesting bio of today's speaker, the Reverend Tania Márquez. Many of you will remember Tania because of the wonderful Sunday service she delivered to us in May. Now I again have the pleasure of introducing you to Tania, who, like me, is in San Diego, California. It has been my absolute delight standing with Tania in both UU communities in which she and I most recently have been engaged. As we all look ahead to her presentation today, I am especially pleased to share with you another reason I believe you will continue to find her inspirational. Tania has charted her path for this coming year so that she can complete a clinical pastoral education residency or chaplaincy at a San Diego hospital. In addition, she will be collaborating with the School of Theology of Boston University as an educator and advisory council member regarding trauma responsiveness in congregations. How can you not love someone who continues to set and achieve goals to best serve others and become all that nourishes her and those she encounters? And now, let's hear this week's COVID Task Force update from Stephanie Studenski, MD, each of which are remarkable forces for good within our fellowship.
Good morning, I'm Stephanie Studenski, reporting for the UUFSMA Task Force today. In recent weeks, it's become clear that the COVID-19 Delta variant is causing a widespread increase in cases, including here in San Miguel. While vaccination clearly is highly protective against hospitalization and death, vaccinated people can still get the virus, with symptoms ranging from absolutely nothing to a really miserable illness that just doesn't require hospitalization because one's oxygen level has not dropped to a dangerous level. You can still get pretty sick. All of us on the task force have intensified our personal safety actions in response to the recent explosion of the Delta variant, and we recommend that you do too. Please wear those masks, think carefully about where you're going, and maintain social distance, especially around groups that may be unvaccinated or aren't wearing masks. If you're fully vaccinated, you certainly can continue to gather unmasked inside and outside with small groups of vaccinated family and friends. While we're all eager to put this whole business behind us, recent trends with the virus mean we just can't do that yet. We will get through this together. Now we'll hear from Tom.
Good morning. I'm Reverend Rosiello, the minister of this fellowship, and it's so good to be with you and to welcome all of you again and to add my welcome to Reverend Tania, our guest minister today. Our opening words this morning will come from Lynn Cox, and Reverend Tania and I will share them with you together.
Vengan ustedes peregrinos por casualidad, ustedes que se encuentran en este trayecto de sorpresa y maravillas, ustedes que surgen en este lugar como un acto de liberación.
Come, you accidental pilgrims, you who find yourself on a journey of surprise and wonder. Come, you who emerge into this place as an act of liberation.
Vengan, ustedes que buscan una vida de conciencia plena y un lugar para poner a prueba sus pensamientos. Vengan, ustedes que traen corazones de todo tipo, corazones pesados, corazones abiertos en revelación, corazones llenos de amor para compartir.
Come, you who seek a life of mindfulness and a place to test your thoughts. Come, you who bring hearts of all kinds, heavy hearts, rusty hearts, hearts broken open in revelation, hearts full of love to share.
Vengan ustedes que buscan valor y los que son más valientes de lo que creen. Vengan ustedes que están tras el telón buscando lo necesario para reclamar su verdad.
Come, you who seek courage and you who have more courage than you realize. Come, you who stand behind the curtain, gathering up the resources to claim your truth.
Este camino pedirá mucho de nosotros. Sigamos adelante con amor, sigamos adelante apreciándonos unos a otros. Quien quiera que seas, cualquiera que sean tus dones, son bienvenidos aquí.
This path will ask much from us. Let us move forward with love. Let us move forward with appreciation for one another. Whoever you are, whatever your gifts, you are welcome to join this journey. I now invite you to join in singing. It's hymn 1020 from our supplement called Woyaya.
We are going, heaven knows where we are going, but we know we will get there. We are going, heaven knows where we are going, but we know we will get there. We are going, heaven knows where we are going, but we know we will get there. Boom, boom, ti-boom, boom, boom. Boom, boom, ti-boom, boom, boom. We will get there. Heaven knows how we will get there. We know we will get there. We are going, heaven knows where we are going, but we know we will get there. Boom, boom, ti-boom, boom, boom. Boom, boom, ti-boom, boom, boom. It will be hard, we know, that the road will be muddy and rough, but we will get there. but we know we will.
Good morning. I'm Dan Neuspiel, your fellowship president. Before we go on to our covenant, I just wanted to add on to the COVID-19 task force announcement that Stephanie made a few minutes ago. Because of the spread of the Delta variant in San Miguel, we decided to postpone our August regathering plans, both small groups and our music event. We hope to reschedule them as soon as possible and as soon as it's safe. Now, please join Diego and me in reading our spoken covenant, which it now appears on your screen. We respect the interdependent web of life and work for a just and peaceful world. We encourage the search for truth and meaning, strive for compassion in our relationships, and seek values that will benefit our lives and the lives of others. This is our covenant.
Respetamos todos los estilos de vida dentro de su red interdependiente y trabajamos por un mundo justo y pacífico. Alentamos la búsqueda de la verdad y la comprensión total. Nos esforzamos por mantener compasión en nuestras relaciones y buscamos valores que beneficien nuestras vidas y las vidas de los demás. Esto es nuestro convenio.
We now enter into a very sacred time in our service, a time when members and friends share significant milestones, joys, sorrows, and concerns with their community. If you'd like a joy, sorrow, or concern shared in an upcoming service, please email it to me. If you have one that you'd like shared this morning and you have not sent it in, you may type it into the chat now. As we share each joy, sorrow, or concern, we'll light a candle, signifying that that person, that thought, that prayer is with us this morning. Our first candle is one of great joy, celebrating that Jürgen Ahlers, after a serious fall down 16 stone steps, is recovering beautifully and has hardly missed a beat over the last week or so since the injury. This is a candle of concern over the rising rate of COVID infections, particularly the Delta strain here in San Miguel. Another candle of great concern over the worldwide fairness of the distribution of COVID vaccines and the horrible suffering in countries like India and Indonesia due to both the lack of vaccine and the lack of needed medical supplies to treat those who are ill with the disease. Now that traveling has returned for many of our members, and some are going and coming from San Miguel as well as traveling elsewhere, we light a candle for safe travel and with an acknowledgement of what a joy it is when they return to us either in person or Zoom. And today we celebrate the return of Betsy Davis, Jim Harper, and Paula Pease. Our final candle is all for all those joys, sorrows, concerns which are held deep in our hearts but remain unspoken this morning. And this is a candle for any joy, sorrows, and concerns that were typed into the chat. I invite you now to hold them in your hearts and enter into this time of meditation led by music.
I went out to the hazel wood because a fire was in my head, and cut and peeled a hazel wand and hooked a berry to a thread. And when white moths were on the wing and moth-like stars were flickering out, I dropped the berry in a stream and caught a little silver trout. When I had laid it on the floor, I went to blow the fire aflame, but something rustled on the floor, and someone called me by my name. It had become a glimmering girl with apple blossom in her hair, who called me by my name and ran and faded through the brightening air. Though I am old with wandering through hollow lands and hilly lands, I will find out where she has gone and kiss her lips and take her hands and walk among long dappled grass and pluck till time and times are done the silver apples of the moon, the golden apples of the sun.
Good morning. My name is Ron Lenox. I am one of the newest members of the Sunday Service Committee, and it's an honor to have been asked to be a part of this morning's service. We strive to be a loving community to each other, as well as the surrounding community where there is serious poverty. This fellowship invests much time and money to make a difference in the Mexican community. We support scholarships for promising students, food programs, children's health services, environmental programs, plus we provide support to Mexican nationals that were deported and now returning here, as well as migrants desperately traveling north from Central America. Our fellowship has been giving and continues to give at least 50% of our income to organizations that serve our local community. With the remainder, we produce our Sunday services with speakers from Mexico, the United States, and Canada. We enjoy guest musicians in our services, support our children's programs, our care team for fellow memberships in need. We support our minister program to help guide us to an even higher platform for sharing open and inspiring Sunday services, working for social justice and expressing our love. Thank you for opening your hearts and being generous today. We will now gratefully receive your offering during a musical interlude.
De ti yo recibo, a ti te doy, así together we share, and from this we live. Todo pasa y todo queda, pero lo nuestro es pasar, pasar haciendo caminos, caminos sobre la mar. Nunca perseguí la gloria, ni dejar en la memoria de los hombres mi canción. Yo amo los mundos sutiles, ingrávidos y gentiles, como pompas de jabón. Me gusta verlos pintarse de sol y grana, volar bajo el cielo azul, temblar súbitamente y quebrarse. Nunca perseguí la gloria. Caminante, son tus huellas, el camino y nada más. Caminante, no hay camino, se hace camino al andar. Al andar se hace camino y al volver la vista atrás, se ve la senda que nunca se ha de volver a pisar. Caminante, no hay camino, sino estelas en la mar. Hace algún tiempo en ese lugar donde los bosques se visten de espinos, soy yo la voz de un poeta a gritar. Caminante, no hay camino, se hace camino al andar. Golpe, golpe, verso a verso. Murió el poeta lejos del hogar, la cubre el polvo de un país vecino. Al alejarse le vieron llorar. Caminante, no hay camino, se hace camino al andar. Golpe, golpe, verso a verso. Cuando el jiguero no puede cantar, cuando el poeta es un peregrino, cuando de nada nos sirve rezar. Caminante, no hay camino, se hace camino al andar. Golpe, golpe, verso, verso, golpe, golpe, verso, verso, golpe, golpe, verso, verso.
This message came to me after I learned there was such a thing as Mexican philosophy. I knew that Mexico has had great thinkers, but I had never thought of their work as a school of thought. But then, one day I came across an article by Carlos Alberto Sanchez and Roberto Eli Sanchez Jr. titled, "To be accidental is to be human," on the philosophy of Mexicanness. It was an interesting reading, and inspired by it, I bought the book Mexican Philosophy in the 20th Century, Essential Readings, and read Emilio Uranga's essay on the ontology of the Mexican. This first part of the message is a bit abstract, as conversations are when we touch on the subject of being. But please stay with me. I promise you it is just at the beginning and in order to set some context. As a broad definition of ontology, I draw on this one from the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy. We have at the least two parts to the overall philosophical project of ontology. On our preliminary understanding of it, first, say what there is, what exists, what the stuff of reality is made out of, and secondly, say what the most general features and relations of these things are. So ontology, we're talking about being, reality, becoming. In an introduction to the work of Mexican philosopher Emilio Uranga, Carlos Alberto Sanchez and Roberto Eli Sanchez Jr. comment on Uranga's work about the Mexican as accidental. And I quote, "At the center of Uranga's ontology is the difference between substance and accident. A substance is that which endures and survives change. It is what remains the same despite change, the thing itself, which is characterized by permanence. By contrast, an accident depends on a substance for its existence, and it is by definition impermanent. Apply to the human being, this ontological difference manifests itself in the feeling of power, a sense of self-sufficiency and permanence on the one hand, and a fundamental sense of insecurity and impermanence on the other hand. In historical terms, it is the difference between the modern European's belief in her power over nature and the inferior human beings, and the various forms of Mexican dependence and self-denigration. They say, to be accidental is not the tragic fate of Mexicans. The peculiar source of their mystery or fascination with death, instead, is an essential feature of being human. In other words, if Uranga is right, the belief in the self-sufficiency or substantiality of human existence that defines modern European history, a belief that provided Europeans with a justification for a history of conquest, colonialism, exclusion, and exploitation, is not just mistaken or false. It is inhuman. To be accidental, that is, to be impermanent and to be dependent, is to be human. At some point, I was discussing the possibility of starting a Spanish meditation class at the church I was serving in Chula Vista. In my conversation with the teacher, the instructor, who had been facilitating a group in Spanish for many years and who was well acquainted with the culture, she said, "Well, with Latinos, I don't have to spend too much time talking about impermanence. They already understand it. It's part of their culture." And it is true. Most people understand the idea that change is a constant, that moving is part of life, and that good and bad fortune are only temporary. This doesn't mean that people can deal with difficulties better or that they have it all figured out. It's just that these attitudes are part of the culture itself. The last time I was in Guadalajara, I couldn't help paying attention to the tentative language that surrounded me. People spoke in the future in tentative terms, never as a given. Even when they say things like, "Oh, let's meet on Tuesday for lunch," they tended to end their sentences with "God willing," "Ojalá," or something similar. Because change is always hovering around. Now, perhaps many of you were already familiar with the song Cantares. This song was composed by Joan Manuel Serrat, a Spanish singer, using a poem of Antonio Machado, a famous 20th century Spanish poet. The song, as many are in the Spanish language, comes from a tradition of deep thought made song. Cantares has become a hymn for many in Spanish-speaking countries. Machado's poetry was inspired by his own experience of loss, forced migration and exile, and love. And I want to talk about two main ideas I identify in this song. One, of course, impermanence, and the idea of forging one's own path. Impermanence is the first idea in the song Cantares. Everything passes and everything remains. But our fate, our human fate, is to pass, to be temporary. So the song begins by recognizing the brevity of our lives. Now, in terms of forging our own path, while it may appear like the song is affirming the European thought of self-sufficiency within the impermanence of our existence, I believe there's a nuance to it that I want to address. Perhaps this nuance I recognize may come from the ways in which my own Mexicanness is informing my understanding of the lyrics. We know that our existence occurs in the brevity of time between two great mysteries, that we are transient beings, wanderers, questioners, seekers. We seek stability, calm, peace. We also use phrases like to settle down, and we understand this settling down as a part of life. We promise people to love them forever. We want them to love us forever. We ask our friends to never change, and we can never anticipate the ways in which we will be different. We reflect and think that because I am still me, that because I can construct a story of who I am, that there is some permanency to who we are. Yet, we also know that change is all there is, that change is a constant in life. We also seem to be in constant motion from within. We move through the world seeking or contemplating, asking questions and wanting to understand. We are always moving, evolving, changing, and growing. Carl Sagan said, exploration is in our nature. We began as wanderers. We are wanderers still. Wanderers literally as we move through and between physical spaces and places, and wanderers as we seek and explore the meaning of life and of all things around us. Perhaps what makes a difference once we understand this is how we wonder, how we explore, and what we do with the knowledge and wisdom we find in the process. In a world where there seems to be a clear path to success, where our young and everybody is given a traced path to follow that supposedly will ensure a positive outcome. The message of people forging their own path is often understood as the individual's responsibility. And our capitalist culture has created an idea of success and sells it as a one-size-fits-all formula. Take, for instance, the concept of vision boards. Did you ever make one? I did, though I don't really remember much of it. But I recently came across an article online that stated, vision boards work. If you don't believe it, the joke is on you. And as with everything else in life, there are debates about how and why they work and when they're not effective. So if you're planning to do one, you're supposed to do it right, or once again, you'd be solely responsible for your own failure. A vision board is a poster where people put images that represent what they want in life. And I won't discuss here whether they're effective or not. What I want to highlight is that people use them as a roadmap of their expected life journeys, like going hiking and following an existing trail. The individualistic take on this would be the entire and solely responsibility of the individual to shape their own life. The unsupported belief that a person has complete control on life and that their life turning out different to what they expected was entirely upon them. Perceived stability gives us a certain sense of control. In a society ruled by the market, selling stability has turned profitable. It has created an illusionary world of stability accessible to those who can pay for it. Stability, safety, predictability, and some sense of control to an extent are offered with a cost attached to them. But if this sense of stability is only available to some and not to all, what does it tell us about life, about how real they are? And are they helpful? Yes, but they can also obscure the perception people have of life or of people's ability to face life in a certain way. They can ignore the challenges that complex societies have placed on marginalized communities. But that's not what I hear in Cantares. Antonio Machado's idea of us, humans and transient beings creating paths, does not only refer to the humans who are opening new ways of being in science and technology. It is not only for those who will be memorialized and preserved in history books or for those who can afford it. I believe that Machado has a more democratic understanding of being human, and so his idea applies to everyone. There isn't one way or one path. There are the paths that we make as we move through life, the unique paths no one else can walk after us, the unpredictable paths we can only see by looking back. It is countercultural and life affirming in many ways. I find great comfort in his words. To me, there is hope in them. Hope that the work in progress that my life is okay. Hope that there's nothing wrong with my path if it doesn't look exactly like the others. Hope that there's more unveiling, more discovery to come. That my own unique experiences are just other ways of being human. It eradicates the false sense of control we may think it's necessary, of knowing exactly where we are going. There is no room for shoulds, as in my life shouldn't be this or that, because the future is not a place waiting for us to arrive. Life is not a game of choices with a specific outcome if you choose the right path. That may be true for some systems we have created, but it's not true for life in general. The alternative world we could live in if we had chosen differently exists only in our imagination. It is also an invitation to wonder, to see the road opening before our eyes, to see the path taking shape, knowing that only when we look backwards, we'll be able to see it with more clarity. But contrary to the idea of the individual in full control of their lives, the paths we make are influenced by people, places, and events that are many times outside of our control. It occurs to me that the path Machado refers to in his poem is not alluding to the actual events, to the decisions that takes us to some places instead of others, but to the work of assigning meaning that we all get to do on our own. Because at the end, we are meaning makers and meaning seekers. We are constantly making sense of the world within and around us. So when we find ourselves in a place we didn't expect and look back to see the trail we left behind, we do so in an effort to make sense of our reality. It is in this ongoing exercise of meaning making that our paths are made. This meaning making process are the steps we take to make the road. In this process, we encounter revelations, epiphanies, new truths, new ways of being. Life unfolds before our eyes. It is an invitation to live, as John O'Donohue said, I like to live like the river flows, carried by the surprise of its own unfolding. I don't think there's a future waiting for us to arrive. I don't believe in the shoots of life, though I understand how difficult they are to escape from. We, transient, impermanent beings, guided by our own moral compasses, guided by our values and principles, are wanderers in search for truth and meaning, stopping and pausing sometimes in awe at the unpaved road ahead or at the long trail left behind. We co-create life stories as we move forward and as our paths unexpectedly cross. I really hope, that we are all carried by the surprise of the unfolding of our lives. Wanderer, there's no path. The path is made by walking. Caminante, no hay camino. Se hace camino al andar. Now please join us in listening or singing our closing hymn, El alma que anda en amor.
El alma que anda en amor, ni cansa ni se cansa. El alma en amor hará. El alma que anda en amor, ni cansa ni se cansa. El amor no se cansa, no se cansa. El alma que anda en amor, ni cansa ni se cansa. El alma que anda en amor, ni cansa ni se cansa. No se cansa, no se cansa. El alma que anda en amor, ni cansa ni se cansa.
Thank you all for being with us today. And a very special thank you to you, Tania, for the wonderful and insightful message you brought. I also would like to thank our staff, Denise, Diana, and Diego, for the sometimes unnoticed work they do for us week after week. And also all the volunteers who give of their time and their talent to create these services and to perform the many functions that sustain, deepen, and grow this beloved community. Hope you stay with us after the postlude for the breakout rooms where you can reconnect with old friends, meet new ones, and discuss the question that's posted. Tania, Chris, and I will be in the main room. You're welcome to join us there, especially if you're new. We invite you to stay in the main room so we can have an opportunity to personally welcome and meet you. Finally, we hope you'll join us again next Sunday for another wonderful service. And now, we return to Tania to conclude our worship.
Our closing words, adapted from the words of Amy Zucker Morgenstern. As we leave this place, may we remember its feel, so that wherever we go, we know ourselves to be on hallowed ground. Al dejar este lugar sagrado, que no olvidemos cómo se siente, para que donde quiera que vayamos sepamos que estamos en suelo sagrado. May we know that we are kin with every soul, every star, every stone and leaf of grass. And may our words be gentle and our touch be kind. Que sepamos que somos parientes de toda alma, toda estrella, toda piedra y toda hoja de césped. May it be so, que así sea. Vayan en paz, go in peace.
Blessed days and the dark secret night, and I think to myself, what a wonderful